Welcome, everybody, back to the Masters Muscle Podcast. Vin, it's been a little bit of a time. I know you've been traveling, taking care of business, but glad to be back here. Episode 45, and it's going to be another good one. Vin, who's our guest for the evening?
Um, Dan is the guy I've known for probably the past two and a half years. I wanted to go in a little different direction today. Not your normal podcast that we do, but Dan has an interesting story. And when we started talking in a gym, I knew Dan was cut from a different cloth because I could break his balls a little bit and tell him, hey, stop talking to everybody and train, get serious. And Dan loves people. He loves talking to everybody. He's a really good guy, and he has an interesting story. He just got into competing. He did his first men's physique show, and a really good friend of mine, former training partner, Mike Scucciateri, was his coach, and he was in good hands. So, when I asked Dan to come on, I think he was a little surprised. And I know I'm honored that you're on, and I want to, say thank you for coming on tonight. So Dan, let's just dive into how long was your first prep for? How long did you and Mike put together a program? How many weeks out did you? When actually, let me ask you this. Let's start. When did you decide, okay, I want to do this, and let me talk to Mike?
It's actually funny. So my CEO of the company that I work for trains with Mike. And
Mike.
Yeah.
So Mike and I trained, and then I pawned him off to Mike.
Yeah, no, because he doesn't listen. We already know that. Yeah, for sure.
No,
absolutely.
Mike's good people. But I think it was a better fit for Mike and Mike to be together than for me and Mike to be together.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I hit there a year last year, he got me 8 personal training sessions with Mikey Arms. That's what I call him. Mikey, I can't pronounce his last name. Absolutely. How is it?
Scucciateri.
Scucciateri. Very, very Italian over there. Absolutely, for sure. So that was last August 2023. And he kept asking me, he's like, hey, are you going to use these personal training sessions? Because I told him I accept them. And he was training with Mikey, and I never reached out to Mike because, I'm hard-headed, and I was like, I don't even need a personal trainer, you know what I mean? And I felt bad at the time, honestly. So I was like, all right, let me just, do them, but I want to do them I always thought about competing. So I said, I kept flopping back and forth. Like, I've talked to you many a times. I said, hey, I'm thinking about competing. And I think finally the last time you were like, I don't want to hear about it anymore. If you're going to do it, just do it. And I made the decision probably in October or November of last year. I want to use those 8 sessions that my CEO got me with, his trainer to good use. So I decided that I was going to do a show in probably December, right after Thanksgiving, right before Christmas, sometime there. And I said, I'm going to start my prep right after New Year's.
Okay, cool. And did Mike set up a whole training program? Because did he organize it to say, all right, Dan, we're going to train X amount of days a week, got to eat a certain way. Did he change your whole eating program and everything?
Yeah, pretty much. Because at that point, I was just intermittent fasting. I wasn't really focused. I mean, I was in the gym every single day, but I wasn't focused on I still dieted, but I was having a whole wheat bagel with turkey bacon, a protein shake, and then another meal. So I was only used to having maybe like 1,200 calories at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And my body was just used to it for a 2-year span. And I was very still lean, but I lost a lot of the muscle mass. So he put me back on 5 meals a day. And, obviously I put a little bit more size on, not enough that I wanted to, but, we're going to keep putting on size. That's the goal.
So, Dan, when you said you wanted to compete, did you know what actually goes into it? Because one thing saying, "Oh, I want to step on stage," but did you know how rigorous the training, the diet, everything else is going to be?
Absolutely, because when I first started my fitness journey in 2015, I started with P90X, and I did that for about 9 months. And I kind of put myself through a 6-month prep in 2016. I didn't have any cheat meals really, and I got in really like good shape, like
Hey,
phenomenal.
Dan, if you could lean forward a little bit, they're in the dark. Yeah.
Cool, a little bit better now.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. Yeah. So in 2016, there was like a 4 to 6 month stretch where I didn't have a cheat meal. I counted macros. This is when I'm figuring out everything myself and the whole science behind it. And so I kind of like, I never stepped on stage. I kind of like went through a 4-month, prep myself. So I was kind of prepared of what was going to happen on this one for sure.
Okay.
So when you first got into the gym, let's go back a little bit before that, because you have a really interesting story.
Yeah.
So let's even go back, way back. So you were telling us a little while ago before we got on the air that you played baseball, you played football, you're very athletic. And what happened that you got off and derailed to, if I'll let you tell your story, what you've done and what you experienced.
So honestly, it was probably just like I said, I played sports growing up. I played baseball. I stopped playing football 8th grade going into freshman year because I was like 95 pounds, 4'9", and I was afraid to go up to the big level, high school now, and be up there against people who were way bigger than me. So I made the decision not to play freshman football, and I talk about it on another thing that I do, but I regret the decision because that summer going into freshman year of high school, I gained like 45 pounds, hit puberty. I went from like 105 pounds up to like 150, and I didn't play football and was eating cheese fries and garlic bread every single day. I still played baseball though, so I was still somewhat athletic, and then I ballooned up to like 200 pounds in high school my senior year. And I was definitely up there in weight, and just
living a bad lifestyle.
I'm sorry, was that?
You were living a bad lifestyle?
No, not in high school. No, I didn't touch anything in high school. It was only probably until I maybe turned out of high school, 18, 19. Recreational starting off, smoking marijuana and stuff, and then some people bring some Percocets around, and it turned recreational. And then I had a very tragic situation happen in my life when I was like 23. My father unexpectedly passed away when I was 2012, June 26, 2012. So it's coming up on 12 years. I'll be 37 in July. So I was 23, 24, and my dad was my best friend. So a lot of my recreational use then turned into an absolute terrible habit because I was just coping with the pain of losing my best friend and my father. You know what I mean? So I don't like to use it as an excuse though anymore, like I used to, because I'm healed from a lot of things. But if I had to go back and say, yeah, it was definitely losing my father the most that made me really go off the deep end and do this whole bunch of drugs and stuff like that. We'll get into
what did you, if you don't mind me asking, what did you dabble into?
So it started off with I'm not even going to mention marijuana because marijuana is legal now. Percocets, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, and then it went up to the Roxy's. When my father died, I also was selling them at the time too to support my recreational habit. I wound up, getting arrested 4 times in a 14-month span after he passed away.
Wow. Okay.
And at that point, the Percocets went to the oxycodones, like 10 milligrams turned to 30 milligrams. And then I couldn't afford them anymore because I started getting arrested, being stupid, obviously. Just, I lived across the street from a detective. So obviously not too smart of myself back then, but I was delusional. And I switched over to doing heroin because I was around somebody and he said, hey, it's the same thing. It's way cheaper. And it's the same thing as doing a 30 milligram blue Percocet. And I tried it and I never looked back. I remember the day I did too. It was April 7th, 2013.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember every significant date in my life. Yeah. Every significant date in my life. I remember. It was the day of WrestleMania 2013. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Cause I'm a wrestling fan too. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I did it for about 1.5 years, heroin, and I got locked up July 23rd, 2014 for a violation of probation, and that's what cleaned my life up, spending 4 months in Bergen County Jail.
Wow.
And finding myself in there, finding myself for sure in jail from July 23rd. I got out November 7th, so it was about 118 days. And that's what I needed. I've never been to rehab. I've never been to NA meeting, and I stand behind that. Jail is the thing that saved my life. And being in there and then finding, some spiritual, awakening. And, my father, I felt like it was a sign from my father, because he would be so disappointed in me. And I was like, you know what, I'm fucking up too much over here. This is a sign. This is the last time I'm getting arrested. And I thought I was going to be out in a week or so, because I was arrested 2 other times and in Bergen County Jail before that, prior that 2014.
Yep.
For a couple of days, and they just let me out. I was in there for 4 months, and that was the biggest wake-up call, because I never thought that. And I was a good kid growing up. Like, I never got in trouble or anything. It was just a 4-month stretch from 23 to 24 that, I got arrested 4 times. And I was just like, this is not how I envisioned my life ever winding up. And I got out, and I never looked back.
So you think
November
that was
7th.
the thing that happened to you?
What's that?
At that time, that was the best thing that happened to you.
100%. Yeah, I got pulled over July 23rd, 2014, coming back from Patterson with, dope in my car. And I had a headlight out, and a cop pulled me over. I had a violation of probation. And good thing they didn't find the thing that I had on me, because that would have been another charge. And so that was a blessing. And I got locked up 4 months, and I never, looked back, and I just made the change in my life. I said,
while you were locked up, what was like the catalyst that, not just being in there the time, but like, was there anything significant that you said you can look back and go, I talked to a certain person, I had experiences? Like, was there anything in those 4 months that you were like, not only don't I ever want to do this again, but this was like, okay, I talked to somebody, I had an experience?
No, honestly, it was more me being also knowing that I'd be disappointing the hell out of my father, because me and my dad were super close, best friends, literally my idol, my role model growing up in life. So a lot of it has to do with him. And I lost my mom after the fact too in 2017, which I can get into also. She got diagnosed with cancer, and I wasn't even a year clean yet. And I tell everybody, that would have threw most people off the deep end again, finding out their mom. But, I made a promise to myself while I was locked up, that's it. It's time to never go back down that road again. And because I never thought that I would wind up in that situation. And I was in there with I was a drug addict in there for 4 months, because I couldn't get clean. I was in there with, people who were robbing, murder, not murderers, but, robbing. I wasn't in the tier with, the crazy crimes, but burglaries, robberies and stuff like that, like petty crimes, then I was just a drug addict in there, you know what I mean? So I was just like, I shouldn't even be in here. I should need more help. And they kept me in there, and I helped myself pretty much instead of going to rehab.
That's great.
Yeah.
Dan, here's a weird question.
Too, so very strong will.
As you mentioned, you were on heroin. Again, thank you for sharing that. So you're in jail now, but is it really just cold turkey? Or, because I hear in heroin, it's very hard. You have to use methadone, I think. Do I understand that correctly sometimes to bring you off?
No, actually. No? So there's been plenty of times where I tried getting clean on my own before I actually got locked up. And I'd go through the withdrawals for a couple of days, and I just couldn't kick it. Because after the 5 to 7 day physical withdrawal, think about having the flu. And it's 10 times worse than having the flu. For about 5 to 7 days, there's a drug called Suboxone that is an opiate blocker that you take that helps with the withdrawals. But while I was locked up, they give you 8 milligrams, 4 milligrams, 2 milligrams, and then that's it. Usually they prescribe it for a longer dose. If you're not in jail, you can go to a doctor and they'll prescribe it long term for somebody to kick heroin totally. But it's also a drug blocking you that still gets you high somewhat, but it blocks the opiates. It's very weird to me. So they gave me 3 days worth of Suboxone in jail, and then that was it. I went through the rest of the 3-day withdrawal. But the worst part of it all is that I feel like people relapse the most is because they can get through the 5 to 7 day physical withdrawal, but it's the mental withdrawal because your brain is so messed up from the drugs. Now your brain has to physically detox from the drugs too. It's just not your body anymore. It's the mental in your brain. So a lot of people go through a psychological depression because they're so used to, doing heroin and now they're not getting that dopamine from that drug anymore. And it's the psychological, like, oh, yeah, it's not a physical. After the 5 to 7 days, it's not physical anymore. It's psychological. And I'm glad I was actually locked up in jail because I had to go through the psychological in there. And I just read books for 2 months pretty much until I woke up one day. And it's very weird. I woke up one day and I felt like a brand new person. Like I felt like I did when I felt like I was a kid again. And I told myself, I said, I was like, what kind of feeling is this? Like, that was a feeling I hadn't felt in so long. And I made that decision right there. And I was just like, I want to feel like this all the time. Like, I don't ever, I just made a decision. Like, I'm never going back and going through any of that ever again. That was the worst 8 weeks of my life. And I couldn't do anything about it because I'm locked in a cell, pretty much. I had to go through it myself. I found myself, pretty much that's what I tell everybody. Like, I found myself truly locked up inside those 4 walls.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So when you get out, how long at that point did you start a new job, go to a gym? Like, what did you do?
No. So I got out November 7th, 2014, and my mom got diagnosed shortly after I got out with melanoma, almost stage 4. And she wound up having surgery in May of 2015. And I owed it to myself to like be a year clean first before anything, because I always heard like, don't take on anything until you make it a year clean first. And so from November 2014 to November 2015, I hit a year clean, and I knew I needed to make a change in my life to keep me down the right path. And I wasn't working out at the time, but I'm still seeing motivational videos scrolling through Facebook at the time. It's almost 10 years ago, and I came across this video. His name was John Burke. He was a drill sergeant in the Army. And it was kind of like a fat shaming video, how he goes out and, he was very opinionated, and it blew up and it went viral. And one of his messages was, I'm tired of everybody saying they're going to start New Year's, because it was like close to around Christmas time. And he's like, fuck that. He goes, why are you going to start New Year's Day? He goes, why not just start right now or tomorrow? And like that motivated the shit out of me. So it was like Christmas night. I was sitting downstairs, Christmas night, 2015, in my aunt's basement. I saw the video, and I fucking worked out December 26, 2015, and I never looked back.
Very cool.
Yeah, literally. Never looked back, and I fell in love with working out. And I started with P90X. You
and I have a little in common at that time, because as your mom was battling cancer, melanoma, my niece, same thing.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
Yeah,
and she lost her life in 2017. So
yeah, my mom was November 2017. November 2017. Yeah, November 2017. Yeah, I watched my mom take her last breath on hospice. So
2017 was November 7th. Yeah. November 2017 was my niece Christy passed away also. Very ironic. So
sorry to hear about that. Definitely sorry to hear about that.
So when you and I first met, let's get a little lighter here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
No, I'm okay.
It's funny because I think I could talk about that, and then all of a sudden it's like my emotion, like because I was so close to her, because she was 6 years younger than me. So when did you decide to go to Powerhouse?
So I was working up 2018 over in Mahwah, and that's where I originally met you, up at the Powerhouse in Mahwah.
Yeah, that's right.
We were at the limousine place, and I was up there, and then COVID happened 2020, shut it down for 3 months. And when they opened back up, I wasn't working up there anymore. and I stopped going up there. I froze my membership or I canceled it. And then when I was working out at LA Fitness in Lodi, because I was going there free training somebody, so they had me under their account, and I was like, all right, whatever, yeah. And then in like November of 2021, I just had enough of LA Fitness and commercial gyms, and I was just like, I miss a real fucking gym again. I miss the people in there, you know.
P90X wasn't doing it for you.
I don't bash anybody that like works out, whatever. I'm just not a commercial gym kind of guy, so I'd rather, you know, pay to go to a gym. I almost got my head kicked off last time doing lunges on the blue turf when somebody's doing their kickboxing and LA Fitness, and I was just like, I'm done. And I signed up Powerhouse Saddlebrook in November 2021, so close to 3 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did you immerse yourself, like following like magazines or anything online, like the bodybuilding lifestyle, or was it just more of a personal kind of thing?
Repeat the first part. I'm sorry.
So like when you started working out more, did you get involved with, were you following the sport, or was it more of a personal thing?
Oh no, I never got into working out to be a bodybuilder at all. And it's still weird, a little bit weird to me too, because like I don't consider myself a bodybuilder, but I guess I am somewhat because I do work out very, you know, consistent. I'm dedicated to eating the right type of food. So, but I also never got into working out to, you know, I got into working out to make a change with my life, and I wanted to fall in love with it, you know, and I just pretty much replaced a bad drug with a good drug, because the feeling that you get from crushing a workout is better than any high I've ever had. And it's that natural dopamine that you want, you know what I mean? So I'm just getting it from somewhere else in a healthy way.
You know? With and Dan, you know me, you know how I am at Powerhouse, and
yeah, of course.
How I try to, like, you know, instill some old school mindset to some of the guys. And when we didn't really know each other yet, and somebody made a comment about you not knowing you and not knowing your story. And, you know, I always say, like, I think somebody said you were a pain in the ass or something, right? So, and
I told that plenty of times in my life. It has no effect on me at all.
But I say this because people have to understand something. In the gym, it's basically a place where everybody is fucked up. Okay. And nobody knows or understands what people are going through. And when I first saw you, one of the things I thought of was, like, he has potential to train hard. And that's why I rode you a little bit, because I knew you had the potential to do more in the gym than what you were doing. Right. And I always say to people, like, the person who has the edge, that person who comes in with a little edge to them, that's the guy I want to train with. That's the guy I want to go, you know, balls out, do legs with, back day. And you and I never had an opportunity to train together, but you're under some really good guidance with Mike, as everyone knows, Mikey Arms.
Yep.
And I think, you know, if you think about how it all happened, right? So I'm training with Mike as a training partner. Fast forward, now I'm training who he's training with, Mike, your CEO. And I thought it would be a better fit if Mike trained with Mike. And now they introduce you to personal training, and it all works out for the better in the end, right? So it's like, if I push myself onto you, maybe none of this would have happened in the best light for you. It all happened the way it was supposed to happen, you know? And, you know, I remember seeing you backstage, where I was back there with my guys at the show. And I said to Fadi, the older guy I train, I said, I gotta get him on my podcast. He's got a great story. And were you surprised when I asked you?
I was shocked, honestly. I was sitting at work, and I got the text from Mike, and he's like, "Hey, Vinny asked me if, you know, you willing to be a guest on, you know, the podcast that he runs." And I said, you know, absolutely. I've done a podcast before, and like I said, my life has been booked, you know, just from looking at my Instagram, like, you know, you could tell a story just from my Instagram, and I'm very open about it. And the reason for that is because people think it's like because I'm trying to show people up. No, it's because I want people to like realize. And I had a lot of dirt thrown on my name, so whatever, And I had a lot of people turn their back on me, which is 100% their right to do. The mind frame that I was in back in 2012, 13, and 14. So I post now to show everybody that you can change, and
Absolutely.
to motivate and inspire people, like, and people, leave me alone. Like I feel like, and I don't care about people's respect for me. I respect myself, and I tell everybody, and they ask me like, what keeps you going? Like, I do it for myself first, but I also do it for the two angels that I have, above me, watching over me, making sure that I'm doing the right thing and guiding me in the right direction. So I don't want to make them disappointed in me. So that's what keeps me going. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't ever want to make my parents disappointed in me, and I don't want to disappoint myself either. So I can care less what people think, because I should have been dead 10 years ago, and I got a second chance at life. And from where I was to where I am now, like, it's kind of like an attitude where like nobody can tell me anything. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely.
And I'll also listen to somebody though, and I'll open up to them. I have no problem with that, but like I have an attitude. Like my idol growing up was, obviously my father, but character-wise, Rocky Balboa. Like I post a lot about Rocky. Like Rocky is my guy. Like I train. I remember telling myself 10 years ago, even when I was doing heroin, like I would close my eyes, always envisioning. I manifested me having this body now, and it's so weird when I think about it now. It's like even when I was doing drugs, I always just like, I don't want to be lazy anymore. Like I don't know what the fuck. Eventually I'll just figure it out. So I kind of manifested it, you know what I mean? And it just happened to be 10 years now. And, I try to go for a physique that Rocky had in like Rocky 4. I posted it the other day, like, oh, I think I'm almost there. You know what I mean? Because I saw him in Rocky 4 and I looked at myself and I was just like, yeah, I'm almost got the same shape as Rocky over there. So in my mind, at least.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. He was a big motivation for me in getting clean too. Because, I sit there and just watch his, I'm a big Rocky fan. I love watching Rocky. So like, I'll go back and watch clips, and not that I need motivation. It just amps me up and, make sure I stay on the right path,
So, Dan, you decided to pick your show and you do your prep. Was it easy? Was it hard? I mean, because as you mentioned, you weren't eating enough. I'm sure now you're in prep. Your coach is probably feeding you a lot more than what you're used to.
Yeah, but still not too much though. The last 3 weeks of prep was miserable. Like, I mean, I'm not sure if Vinny really saw me the last 3 weeks of my prep, but like
I did. I ignored you.
Yeah, and I'm very Vinny knows, like, I'm very upbeat and stuff like that. Like the last 3 weeks, and I talked to a whole bunch of people at Powerhouse. I'm very friendly, and people do like me because I tend to put smiles on people's face and make them laugh. Like I'm a jokester. I like to just have fun and make people feel good about themselves. I feel good about myself, so I'm gonna if I like you, I'm gonna make you feel good about yourself. Like, and that's the type of person I am.
You were by the ladies' room, and we were crossing each other. I said, "What's up, Dan?" And you go, "Miserable." And I just
that was the last 3 weeks. So I would probably say I did my show April 6th. April 6th, so probably like mid-March for the last 3 weeks. Like, I didn't want to look at anybody in the gym. I had like no energy. I couldn't even get like a pump really. Like it was. Well, and then
that just
really cut everything out the last like week.
Dan, that just indicates you did it the correct way.
Yeah.
Because everyone today says, "Oh, prep shouldn't be hard." No, they're difficult. They shouldn't be easy. If you're doing them the right way, there's a little suffering involved. And I saw you suffering, and I said to Mike on the side, I'm like, "Your boy's suffering, good." And when I saw you strip down backstage, I'm like, "Oh, you're hard as nails. You did your homework." And how did you end up with the placing? I forgot.
So I did three classes.
Okay.
So I did true novice, regular novice, and I did 35 and over. True novice, I took third. 35 and over, I took fifth, but I was also up there with everybody who was 6'2" and above.
Yep.
I'm 5'5". They had me up like everybody who signed up for the show was 6'2" and above. So I mean, I came in very conditioned, but when I'm 5'5" up against somebody who's 6'2", I mean, obviously they're gonna. I thought I still look better, whether I'm biased or not, but they're gonna have a lot more muscle looking than somebody who's, you know. I wasn't mad at it though. And then regular novice, I took fifth, so I placed in all three. The kid who took first in true novice was already a pro in Puerto Rico, I heard, just doing his first American show. So I did it more just to prove something to myself. And I always told myself, like, even though it's a competition, I'm a winner already in life from what I had to go from to, you know, where I am now. And my mindset was like, the only person that I compete against in life is literally myself. Like, I just want to be better than the day before. So yeah, I was up there at a competition against other people, but I was just up there looking like I'm competing up against myself up here. Yeah, I want to win, but was I going to be angry? No, because it's my first show ever. And just stepping up on stage to me is a win. And the biggest win that I could ever have in my life is, you know, being clean, coming up 10 years in July and getting a second chance at life. And, you know, that's the biggest win that I could ever have in life.
Cool.
Dan, what was your meals like? Was your the high carb, low carb, or was it kind of fluctuating, or what did that look like?
My meals were 6 egg whites, 1 yolk, a half a cup of oatmeal, quarter cup blueberry every morning. On 5 meals, pretty much I was on 6 ounces of chicken, a cup of white rice, vegetables, a teaspoon of olive oil, a protein shake, 2 rice cakes. And he took that out like the last 6 weeks and put like another actual meal in. 6 ounces of beef, 1 cup white rice, and vegetables, and then 6 ounces of fish, salmon preferably, or tilapia, whatever, a cup of white rice, and veggies. Yeah, so I was on that for like the first 7 weeks. I did a 13-week prep. Started January 1st or January 2nd. It was like 13 weeks when we started. So the first 7 weeks, that was the meals. And then he cut out the protein shake the last 6 weeks and then threw another 6 ounces of, I think, fish in there. And then the last week was nothing but tilapia, asparagus, some gallons of water for, you know, peak week. And then I was able to have a little bit more food a couple of days before the show.
Were you already lean? Did you have to do a lot of cardio?
I did not do an ounce of cardio for the show. Believe it or not, you saw the picture of me on stage. And Vin probably could. I never considered myself small. I already had a lean stature. I just lost a lot of muscle the last couple of years because I got complacent. Still hit the gym. I didn't really focus on like my eating habits like I do now again. And it helps and keeps me disciplined. And, you know, I took on a new job, and whenever I have to start over in life and take on a new job, of course, I'm going to focus more on that. And then the gym's always going to be there, you know. So I knew I'd eventually always get back to here, you know, and stop, you know, losing muscle by not eating enough, you know. But I had to focus on, you know, being comfortable with my job first. And I've been there almost 2 years, and, you know, everything has fallen into line now. And, you know, I'm back on eating 5-6 meals a day, and, you know, I'm feeling real good now. Yeah, I'll never go back to intermittent fasting with those 3 meals a day now. No, definitely not. I need 5-6 meals a day now. I feel good.
Yeah. So what's next? Thinking about doing another contest or?
Yeah, I feel like Mikey. So after my one I did April 6th, I wanted to do the next one the next week. I think there was one in Massachusetts. I wanted to take the ride up there. I wanted to go to Connecticut the week after that and Rhode Island. And Mikey tells me, he goes, created a monster. And I was just like, he goes, I knew this was going to happen. He goes, because you had so much fun doing your first one that you just, and then obviously, you know, the high wore off. And I was just like, all right, now I'm back in the gym, back to bullshitting with people like I like to, you know what I mean? Obviously still training hard and everything like that. And I think, Vin, you can, you know, you see I still train hard, you know, but then I also, you know, say what's up to people now still. And I'm looking at maybe November. But I also maybe want to put the signs on the rest of this year, maybe do April again next year. If it's November, it's going to be before Thanksgiving because I do not want to do the November 29th show and have Thanksgiving before it and be miserable, not being able to enjoy it with my family. So I think there's a November 7th one. I'm looking at that. If it's not November 7th, then it's not going to be until next year again, where I could focus the rest of the year putting on size, maybe I'm about 147 pounds right now. My goal is at least to get up to 155. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I at least want to be a solid 155. And I'm only about 5'5", so
you could do it.
It's a slow, steady process, but my goal first is like 155. I don't want to make it 165 and it take me forever. I want to make, small little progress up to 155. And then, because I don't know exactly how big I'm going to have to get because I want to do 2 shows a year. I'm making it my goal, and it's a hobby for me. And, I'm going to take it seriously. And do I want to be a pro? No, this is like somebody collecting trading cards to me. I got nothing else better to spend money on. I might as well do it for something fun that I like. You know what I mean? I fell in love with it, being up on stage and getting that rush. Yeah, it was very fun.
You want to stay in classic physique?
No, he's a
men's physique. I'm a men's physique. I'm a men's physique, and I'll be honest with you. In order for me to get up to classic, my legs have to probably double in size. I'm proportionate now. My legs match my upper body. But I could probably add a solid 5 to 8 pounds on each of my legs because I'm very lean. You know what I mean? So I could definitely pack some muscle onto my legs. But it's just. So I'm thinking about staying men's. I don't know how I feel about classic, but I do train legs now. I definitely, I actually just did legs today before we got on. Yeah, before we got on, I was I was doing legs.
Yep. If you enjoy it, why change?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Was that?
If you enjoy it, why change?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Well, damn, man.
I like my abs too much a little bit because I never had them growing up, and now I have them. And I'm just like, I don't want to ever lose them. You know what I mean?
I lose them every off season.
Yeah. You also do regular bodybuilding, right? You do regular, right? Bodybuilding?
Yeah. Well, there's only one bodybuilding.
Well, yeah, so there's bodybuilding, classic, and then men's physique.
Yeah, and then there's and in the pros.
Open bodybuilding, yeah, open
bodybuilding. Yeah. In the masters, open bodybuilding. In the pros. So
you doing another one soon?
Yeah.
When's that going to be? Or you don't want to announce it yet? It's under wraps.
No, it's September 1st.
Nice.
The Masters.
Over here in the States, or are you going overseas again?
No, it's in Pittsburgh. It's the Masters World.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, maybe next year they'll have the Olympia again. I'll hopefully I get it. But listen, Dan, I want to thank you for coming on. You have an amazing story, and I hope that anyone listening gets inspired by what you're doing, what you've done, where you're going, and hopefully for you, this is just the beginning, and it just takes off for you. I wish you nothing but the best. God bless you. And maybe in the future we'll have you back on.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and asking me to be on here. And, it's my pleasure sharing my story with you guys.
You got it.
I think it's going to be very good. And, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it for sure.
Dan, plug your Instagram before we go offline here.
All right, cool. So my Instagram is, hold on, let me just make sure I'm getting it right over here. I know we're on time.
How many do you have?
So it's going to be, I have 2. I have Mac Fitness, but I haven't because I'm starting an LLC soon. So we're not going to get into that because it could be a whole nother conversation. Okay. So my regular Instagram is Dan, DAN _ Mac, MAC 713. So Dan _ Mac 713. That's my Instagram, which I post to. I do have a fitness one that I don't post to yet. I'm just made it for a future account.
All right, cool. Well, we hope to see that blow up and see you at Powerhouse.
Always.
Now you broke your cherry, so I want to see you back on stage again.
Absolutely. I'm gonna be there either November or next year.
Oh, one day Mike and I and you, we have to train legs.
Be careful.
I'm gonna have to really prepare myself for that one. I think that might be our cue to go over here when you mention training legs with you and the other Mike. Oh man, geez, he kills me already. Takes me out of my comfort zone, but I need that. So he's really helped me more than just training and everything in life. And,
good.
Yeah. So
thank you again.
Yeah.
And
it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. Good night, Dan. Thank you.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
And everybody, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you're back every Wednesday.